From Software has created many a game that takes players through interesting and macabre worlds filled with challenging foes. Bloodborne is no different as it explores the Lovecraftian world around the city of Yharnam. It has plenty of bosses in both the base game and DLC, but only 9 of them are truly necessary to beat the game. I'm Will from Game Rant, and today we're talking about every mandatory boss in Bloodborne in order. This should go without saying, but spoilers ahead. Starting your journey through Yharnam, players must face the tragic father Gascoigne. Gascoigne was a priest from a foreign land who came to Yharnam and joined the hunt before eventually succumbing to his bloodlust. Most players will encounter him after the cleric beast, which can actually be skipped, and be faced with the first challenge of the game. He's the perfect way for players to get a grip on the combat mechanics and just how bleak the world of Bloodborne can be. In order to unlock several key areas for progression, players must then defeat Vicar Amelia. Amelia used to be a high-ranking member of the Healing Church and is the successor of Lawrence, whose gold pendant she drops upon defeat. She can be found in the Grand Cathedral in the Cathedral Ward, and initially looks like a human before transforming into a beast. After Vicar Amelia, the player travels into the Forbidden Woods and finds the Shadow of Yharnam standing in their path. This boss consists of 3 enemies, each with a distinct fighting style that the player must overcome. Within the lore, the Shadows are Pthumerians and servants of Queen Yharnam, who were infested by parasitic snakes. This boss can be challenging, especially with how overwhelming they can be altogether. After journeying through Bergenworth, the hunter jumps into the Moonside Lake and is faced with Rom the Vacuous Spider. Rom doesn't seem to be the most intimidating boss, but certainly can do some damage if you're not careful. After Rom is defeated, the player releases the Blood Moon, which is the barrier keeping humans from seeing the eldritch horrors around them. One such eldritch horror is the One Reborn, which was summoned from the Pale Blood Moon by the Chime Maidens, possibly in an attempt to ascend humankind to the status of Great Ones. The player must defeat this monstrosity along with the maidens in order to progress. Many of the themes in Bloodborne revolve around creation and childbirth, and the One Reborn ties many of those themes into its design and boss fight. Next is one of the most memorable bosses in all of Bloodborne, Micolash, Host of the Nightmare. He can be found in Murgo's Loft in the Nightmare of Mensis, and is a multi-phase boss fight. His first phase involves chasing him around a maze filled with enemies, and the second is a one-on-one duel. Micolash has plenty of powerful attacks that can do the player in if they're not careful, so remember to stay on your toes. Just past Micolash is Murgo's Wet Nurse, and the beginning of the endgame. The nurse is a horrifying creature and the source of the nightmare, with wings, skeletal arms, and dimensional powers. Many players theorize that the Wet Nurse is actually Father Gascoigne's wife, Viola, based on her reaction to the music box and the fact that her body disappears after the Wet Nurse is defeated. She also has some attacks that do some real damage. However, quick moves and exploiting her weakness to Bolt, Arcane, and Poison will help the hunter through. After Murgo's Wet Nurse is defeated, the hunter returns to the hunter's dream to find Gehrman waiting for them. If they refuse his offer to kill them outright, he becomes a mandatory boss himself. Gehrman was a constant presence throughout the game, having created the doll and the hunter's dream itself with the help of the Great Ones. He would soon become trapped in his creation with no way to escape. Fighting him is no easy feat, but defeating him is one step closer to the true ending. If the player defeats Gehrman and consumes the 1/3 of umbilical cords, the Moon Presence is the final boss in their way. The Moon Presence is a great one with the kind of power that title carries. It is the true final boss of Bloodborne and is responsible for the hunter's dream, although its true origin and purpose are unknown to us. After a tough fight, the hunter faces the end of Bloodborne and concludes this haunting journey. That was every mandatory boss in Bloodborne in order. For more games and articles like this, remember to drop by GameRant.com. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time.